Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Embodied Blonde Show. I'm so excited to be here today with Buffy Bliss. Buffy is the owner and CEO of the Orgasmic Housewife School of Bliss. She helps women become their most magnetic and radiant selves. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Buffy.
Thanks for having me. I'm so honored.
I think we're going to have a really great conversation, and I'm so excited to dive in. But to start us off, could you just tell us a little bit about your story and kind of how you got into the work that you do?
Yeah, for sure. I got into this work because I totally destroyed my first marriage. I take full responsibility for that. And I didn't at the time, but now that I know what I know, I
Yeah.
can see it. And then got into the dating world and proceeded to just really have a great time. I loved being single. Like, to tell you the truth, there was nothing in me that wanted to be married again. And
Mhm.
then I met John, this handsome, just successful. He just had, I understand what it is now, but he gave me hope. There was something about what he brought to the table that gave me hope. And
Mhm.
then I proceeded to sabotage that relationship. And I mean, like, emotionally just exploding.
Yeah.
I have a real hulky side. And when I realized that I was very much out of control and that I had dated enough to see that I just had a very definite pattern.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, Sarah, I spent $10,000 on leadership and development for business and things. So I understood the concept of personal responsibility. And I felt like I was pretty hardcore into taking personal responsibility, but not
Mhm.
at the level of being with a man.
Yeah.
Not not what I brought to the table in a relationship. I
Mhm.
could not control myself really. And
Mhm.
so I met Claudia and Claudia Phillips, and I always forget how she writes her name, but it's the ecstatically. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting this since
Ever
ever,
after?
ever, ecstatically ever after.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
it
love
was
Claudia.
changed from when we first met, and I mean, girl, I reached out to her, I grabbed her like I was never letting go, and I was like, I just knew she had something that I needed that I didn't have. And it was, she did a lot of talk about muses.
Yeah.
And the one thing I knew was I did not inspire men to do anything but kind of want to get away from me and drive them nuts. So yeah, I worked with Claudia, and
Amazing.
after experiencing the magic, like having no idea about masculine and feminine energy, and experiencing the magic of it and how absolutely like life changing in every area of life, not just, John proposed to me like 3 weeks later. After like 3 weeks of some coaching, we went from him breaking up with me and me begging. I'd never begged a man in my life to stay together. I begged and I said, I will do anything. I know I'm the problem.
Mhm.
3 weeks later, yeah, getting like, proposed to, and I think a few weeks later we got married.
Oh my
So
gosh.
we just ran up and got married. We didn't tell nobody. It was just us. It was beautiful. It was exactly everything I had ever wanted. There was no one else there.
Incredible.
Yeah. And it's been a journey, to tell you the truth. It's not
Yeah.
been easy, but um, I have had to, I have worked through some major, just a lifetime of wounding, and I had physical ailments since childhood, and so I'm still a work in progress. Just want to make that very clear. Like,
We
I
all are.
I
We
know
all
what I
do.
know, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yep.
You know, I know how to like come out of complete and utter overwhelm
Yeah.
and um, and how to. I consider this radical, what we're talking about.
It is.
Yeah.
It's radical and it works radically. Like the thing is that when you learn this stuff, you're like, oh, everywhere I go, men are opening doors for me, and men are, oh, don't worry about your drink. It's on eat strangers. Like, oh, I've got this is just a little repair in your car. Like, I've got this. Like, people, like men want to help and they want to take care of us and they want to provide, but we have had these walls up and we haven't been taught how to communicate, how to be open, how to be receptive, how to be the feminine to the masculine. And so like we don't know what we don't know. And it's just amazing that when we just start to make even the smallest shifts in our energy, the response that you get, you're like, I will never go back to the way that I was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. And
Or
then
just
what's
in
funny
three
is that it's actually easy to get sucked back into it. I don't know if you've experienced this,
yeah.
but I'll say I'll never want to go back. But boy, then I don't even take a compliment. You know, it's funny how easy it is to get sucked in, and
Yeah.
that's why I think the move to for me to the choice of just being home,
Mm-hmm.
and this kind of radical self-care. That's my whole life. It
Yeah.
helps me. That is what I have discovered helps me, the most. Just me personally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a huge piece of it. And I'm the same. Like, I find myself, even in my relationship, and even though I know better, like, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
He was sick over Christmas. And so I took full charge of Christmas and I got into my masculine energy and I tried to like produce Christmas. And
Yeah.
I was getting like in little tips with him because I was like, you need to feel better and you need to go and like buy your mom a present. Like you need I'm like microman and I know better. And I could hear myself and I'm like, what are you doing? You know better. But even though I know, and sometimes like there have been times even when he has reminded me, he's like, babe, you need to practice what you preach.
And that's masculine communication right there.
I'm like, he's right. But it's like and we're all a work in progress. Like it's just something that you refine and you improve over time, like, and you get better and better and better. But yeah.
Yeah. So I love the radical self-acceptance too. And
Yeah.
I love it when women share with me their stories too. Like, let's get real.
Yeah. Let's just be honest.
Zero conflict.
Yep.
There's some things I just suck at still.
Yep.
But
And
there's
it's okay.
things I have figured out that I've been able to be consistent with, and it's made a huge difference. And so I'm
Yeah.
super excited to share about those.
Yeah. So I first of all want to say everyone should go follow Buffy Bliss. She's amazing. Her content is incredible. Like everything she posts, I'm like, heck yes, preach. So go follow her and we'll tell you how at the end. But you say in a post, a man is not compelled to take charge out of compliance, but out of devotion. It's not done for approval either. It comes from his desire to fulfill needs. How does being in our feminine energy inspire this devotion?
Okay. So whenever I answer, I'm gonna give you the best. Like,
Yeah.
I don't consider what I think or what I say or what I've learned so far to be the only answer. And sometimes I use stories or examples more.
That's perfect.
So, an example in my previous marriage, um, I did learn about how people, and I noticed that my ex husband was in compliance often. And that was because I was constantly kind of coming to him with issues, with asks, me having a need and needing him to change. It's always kind of, I need you to change.
Yeah.
You know, I need something, which means you're going to have to change. And out of his love for me, he would try, and it would last for a short period of time. And this went on for like 12 years. And so, in what I've learned through the feminine energy work is that my man naturally gifts me all kinds of things, all kinds of attention or love through however he decides to give. And that is his devotion. Yeah. That is how he shows his devotion. If I come to him and I say, I have a need, and I have a little bit of an agenda around that I kind of need him to change in order to get this need met, he'll go into compliance.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still struggle with this from time to time. This is, it's like a regular practice. But yeah, bringing feminine. Oh, this goes into feminine communication.
Yeah.
So my understanding of feminine communication is that I'm expressing feelings, expressing desires, expressing needs with zero agenda.
Yeah.
And I have a really fun example that just happened the other night. And I was like, damn, that was easy. That's feminine communication. That's what that feels like. Oh, because I still, it's not, just doesn't always just come out that way. So I always have a glass of water by my bedside. And we were just in bed and I said, oh man, I'm out of water. This is just, it's a blurt almost. It's just a blurt.
Mm-hmm.
No agenda, not asking for anything. This man was just like, oh, I got it. And just gets up. That's devotion.
Yeah.
To me, that's a very, very clear, good understanding of, we won't even notice devotion sometimes from our man if we're kind of feeling upset with him, if he's not changing in the ways we want him to change, or we're not getting whatever it is that we want or need because we don't know how to communicate it.
Yeah.
But then something like that little illustration will happen and we'll miss it like it's nothing. Mm-hmm. That's devotion.
Yeah.
I didn't think twice about it. He was inspired by natural expression of like, I have a need. Oh, I need water.
Yeah. I know. Isn't that incredible?
Complicated.
Yeah. And that really is, it's as simple as that, of just like, here I am, here's what I need, here's what I desire, like not telling the man how to do it, when to do it, like micromanaging the entire experience. Like then it puts, like you said, it puts them into compliance. And I forget who said this, but this couldn't be more true. They're like, then he has a choice to either submit to you or like run from you. And like you don't want either of those.
No, not unless you're into that.
Yeah, not unless you're into that. No judgment.
No judgment. That can be fun. But I'm done with feeling that power dynamic.
Well, it doesn't feel good to us either. Like we don't want him to do what we say. We don't want to be
his... not really. No. If he just did what we said, because so a lot of us think we want this kind of passive man, this kind of like man who, I have a problem and I'm gonna bring it to you and I'm gonna tell you my feelings and then I'm gonna ask you if you would change what you're doing and you say yes and now you change it. But for some reason, I'm still irritated. And then I just find another thing and then add it. And he does it out of devotion, maybe, or because he doesn't like conflict or has his own wounds or something. And your respect just keeps going down for some reason. Like, what is that? It's because he has submitted to your leadership.
Yeah.
And he has no vision himself for what he is going to bring to the table, and then has boundaries around what he's not going to bring to the table. He has no boundaries. He has no balls. I don't know how else to say that,
Yeah.
but he's lacking in some self-worth of his own.
Yeah. And it's not attractive to us.
It's not. We never really, it's not attractive when we don't have self-worth, and it's not attractive when they don't have self-worth, and it just shows up differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I really love this post you made recently where you were talking about how there's so many misunderstood healthy masculine traits that women interpret from a place of inner wounding. And when we heal these, all of a sudden we can see all the love he tries to give. Could you tell us more about what some of these traits are?
Yeah. I think the number one, I don't know if you've heard this a lot, but when they drive crazy and you don't feel safe, as in when they're driving aggressively,
Yeah.
like going around other drivers that are either not using their turn signal or are doing something, I don't know, that I used to sit in on the other side and feel so unsafe and feel like I was not being protected, or that my safety wasn't being thought of.
Yeah.
Until I brought it up one time, and this is before the coaching, honestly. This is a great example because I hear it a lot. And my now husband looked at me and said, "How many tickets do you have? How many accidents have you been in?"
Yeah.
And he'd never been in any. And I have been in several and
Mm-hmm.
had tickets. So
Mm-hmm.
now I understand they are using their aggression. Men don't get to use their aggression in war and all these kinds of things anymore. That's a protective nature. So you are the precious cargo. He is using that side of himself to get around ignorant or stupid drivers he seems to deem as harmful or possibly going to cause an accident. So he uses his brain, his smarts, his body, and his masculine energy to get around them.
Keep you safe.
For you.
Yeah.
So aggression in general.
Yeah. That's such a good example. Yeah, I also heard Alison Armstrong say that. Do you know Alison Armstrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she said once that men, because of their single focus when they're driving, we have a lot more peripheral vision. So it can be really scary for us because we're seeing everything, like all the cars going by, and they're seeing what's right in front of them, which actually can make them like a little bit of a better driver. Like, not to be sexist, like,
Yeah.
but
They have the ability to focus.
they have the ability to focus. And so, yeah, that's just such a good example of like, we have innate male and female differences, and it gives us different strengths. And when we are able to interpret what he's doing through through the eyes of like, oh, like he's trying to protect me here,
Yeah.
then you start to see the man in your life as like, you just start to see him in a completely different way.
Yeah. Or at least start getting curious
Yeah.
about why he does weird things.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot just by asking him
Yeah.
why he's doing that, because I felt maybe weird or unsafe, or I felt something strange, and so I just, instead of being accusatory or imagining I know what he's thinking right now, just getting curious.
Yeah.
think,
And if you really are scared, you could just say, I feel scared. You don't have to say like, you need to drive differently, you know?
yeah,
And then he might be like, oh, I'll try to drive in a way that makes her feel not only that she is safe, but makes her feel safe.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And honestly, that just comes out. If something happens, you go, like your
yeah.
head goes in bears, you make a sound. There's a lot of ways feminine communication comes out with just like it's a sound and a body, and he hears and sees all that, and he's like, oh, that freaked me out.
Mhm.
Then he hears that.
Yeah.
it into account if you trust, if you trust him. It's a big trust. It's a big trust.
Once I was cooking chicken parmesan and I was using parchment paper, and you at the end you have to put it under the broiler to melt the cheese, and the
Yeah.
paper caught on fire, and I was like, in like it was like visceral. My response was like so feminine. I was like, help! And
Yes,
he,
exactly.
like, I've never seen him move so fast. Like he was like there in an instant, because it was me like very much in my feminine, and him just like activated, you know.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think it like our like true response apart from conditioning,
Yeah.
it is very feminine and masculine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have tried to put on feminine communication. It don't work.
Yeah. It has to be real. Yep.
It does, unfortunately. And that's why it can be a little bit difficult to share, but it just takes practice and you fail. I mean, who cares?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
And you don't have to do it perfectly.
No, no.
You can, that's the thing is that like there are some, and I'm not going to like name names, I'm not going to bash anybody, but there are some polarity coaches where it's like, here's the way and here's the script. And if you do it any differently, like, good luck, your relationship is doomed and you're not very feminine. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I feel like in the right relationship, there's a lot of room to be human
Yeah.
and to learn and grow over time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm a little bit right now, and my perspective may change, but I'm a little wary of anyone who says like you can have a relationship with no conflict. Okay.
Yeah.
If you that's your ideal, I'm not sure if that's something I want or that John even wants. And we've discussed that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I don't know either. I feel like you have to find what's right for you, but I do think that in real life, you're going to come up against things, and you are a human and you are learning and growing. And I think it's about giving each other grace and being able to do it together and like honor the different seasons that you're in. And yeah.
Yeah, what I like to teach is the repair, the
Yeah.
and that's what I have found the most success with because I am so conflict prone.
Yeah.
I admit it. I bring the struggle into the relationship. We'd have no fights without me. There would be no just be quiet all the time. I would get bored probably. But anyway, what I have learned is how we can repair fully
Yeah.
and not kind of walk away from these things feeling disconnected
Yeah.
disconnected for days and never really like learning anything about one another or getting anything out of it that equals betterment.
Yeah.
Now we're at that place for sure. Like I know how to do that.
Mm.
Maybe someday I want to have no conflict, but right now
It's okay.
I just want to feel connected.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means that there's going to be a little bit of tension. And it's like some people need a certain level of like you would be bored if everything were always just like rainbows and unicorns, and wouldn't you?
I would absolutely be bored.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's good, admittedly, because I can be a drama queen and a little addicted to drama, and I'm fully aware of that.
Yeah.
So I try to get that out of me in a lot of different ways.
But
um,
I think when you realize that about yourself and you fully own it, like it almost becomes endearing. Like you're like, how adorable. Like,
I know I always think of myself as I'm kind of like Latin in the
yeah,
way that
you're spicy.
I'm a little spicy.
I love that so much. Yeah. And I think that, like, I don't know, that it's just like the right match. That's right for that match. And then there might be a couple that goes their entire marriage without having one argument. And then that's right for those people. But we all have our different needs and different desires. And like, um, Yeah, you got to keep it interesting. And you don't, like you said, like you don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to be able to repair. And that is a skill that's another skill that we really aren't taught.
Yes, repair.
Yeah. So I think that's so awesome. Um, I love this post where you said working on the relationship is why it's not working.
Oh
Right?
yeah.
Tell us more about this.
Um, boy. And I see this a lot. I think I've seen it with every single woman I've ever worked with. And I work with married women. I just decided I can't handle, I don't know how to work with single women.
Yeah.
So I love, I love women that are married and been married for a long time and struggling, maybe because I've been there. But
Yeah.
yeah, boy, a lot of time they're putting in a ton of energy into into I'm going to a counselor. I booked this vacation so that we could be together and have quality time together and have a talk, maybe, and I'm working on, well, getting him to change. And unfortunately, they don't realize that they're working on getting him to change.
Yeah.
And what's not happening is that they're not really taking responsibility for their side of the street. They're actually looking at his paper and not their own paper. They don't take care of their health. They are generally also working at work and then working on the children and controlling the children. So
Yeah.
their whole life is about fighting fires and putting out,
Yeah. Being in charge.
being in charge, absolutely, and expecting. I think what there might be, it feels like they're working on the relationship and expecting him to be working on the relationship in the same way.
Yeah.
They're showing up.
Mhm.
And but I never hear any real feminine expression of what the actual need is or what the actual desire is. And often they're not really even sure what their actual desire is.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work, just a lot of spinning.
Yeah. It's interesting because we try to take the skills we're taught for the workplace, for success in any area of our life, and we
Yeah.
try to apply it to men and relationships. And
Yeah.
I work with single women who are wanting to get into a relationship, probably also because I've been there.
Yeah.
And I could say the same thing. Like it's like this energy of taking all of the tools you learn to get ahead in every other area of life and trying to apply it to men, and that it will not work with a masculine man. So what you'll get is you'll either get an emasculated feminized man, which is not what you want, or you will get no man, which is
Yeah.
also not what you want. So it's like working with what works, and it's a totally different skill set. And I love it. What a lot of what you're saying reminds me, do you know Laura Doyle?
No. Oh yes, Laura Doyle. I read before I got married the first time.
Okay,
Didn't
so
get it. I didn't get it. Yeah.
it's similar of where she's like, take your energy off the man, put it on yourself, which is we only have power
Yeah.
on our side of the street. We have no power on his side of the street. We
Yeah.
have power on ours, but he's responding to us, like Alison Armstrong says. So it's like in dating, in any kind of anything with men, if we can pull our attention off of him, put it on our desires, and like you said, get like start to even know what it is that you do want, start to like really ramp up your self-care, and then learn to express your desires with no agenda. Like that, it's so simple, but it's so foreign that we really do need help. We need a coach, we need to practice, we need support, because it's like learning a completely new language.
Absolutely. Yes. We definitely, I couldn't do this without other women like you.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
It's so refreshing to go on my feed and to see posts from people like you where I'm like, thank God someone gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, and just like even like looking in, like I am so inspired by happily married women because I hope to be a wife
Yeah.
sooner rather than later. And I, growing up, I didn't have any examples of good marriages.
True.
So it's hard to model something that you haven't seen. So just immersing yourself in the energy of women who love and respect men and women who have found a way to have great marriages, like it's so supportive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny, like, even as supportive as this can be, and I don't know about you, but there's just like this pride sometimes. And I think pride is just a human thing, right? Where we just kind of don't want to share that we maybe screwed up again, or, like, oh, we're still kind of not good at this thing. And, it's like, you and I, we can't love each other enough to help each other get out of that pride or just open up. But I think that's why I tend to open up a lot. I tend to like be kind of ultra vulnerable, maybe overshare, because I want women to feel safe, in general, and then also with me. So I super appreciate your sharing, this earlier, and yeah, the
I
openness.
think that's what makes you, I think that there's a lot more power in being like, here's what I struggle with. Like, here's the real me, than acting like you're perfect and you have everything figured out and there's never an issue. Like, that's not real life. And I think people know that deep down. Like, they can kind of see the inauthenticity of people that,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of like you. Like, I'm like, here's the real truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so exhausting to put on, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And it just, I don't know, like it reminds me, what we're talking about, it reminds me of like Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection, where she's like, no one connects over their shared perfection. It's the imperfections that bond us together, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Girl, I wish I had your brain. You just have like this photographic memory that you
Like, I
can.
read something one time.
No, it's amazing. It's outstanding the way, and I don't have that. I've heard it all. I've have it in here, and I can practice it, but I can't recall it like that. It's a beautiful gift. Yeah.
I drive one of my best friends, Lauren, crazy because she's like, let me guess, you read it somewhere. I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the search. And I think, and that's even like with all this work, like you were talking about being single or married, you can overwork by just reading too much, by just like trying to heal 24/7 and like stuff your brain full of information. You can get really
Yeah.
over that can really turn into work.
I see a lot of women try to put having any sort of relationship on the other side of their healing. And it's like, no, you've got to get in a relationship and do the healing. You can heal to a certain extent alone, but at some point the rubber is going to have to meet the road and you're
It's
going to,
true.
you're
It's
going to have to like put it into practice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have to see yourself, and that's why it's scary. You're gonna have to see your imperfections, and you're gonna have to see you still don't know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes so much humility. Like,
Mm.
right?
It's so true. Yeah. And just the willingness to be like be able to even see yourself, being able to be the kind of person that has self-awareness is rare.
Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so for my next question, you teach that men naturally adore women and want to provide, not because we can't provide for ourselves, but because they're trying to cherish us. They aren't trying to compete. It's not a game of who can give the most. Why do you think it's so common for women to fall into the trap of over giving to a man, instead of receiving and like leaning back and letting him provide? Because isn't that what we ultimately want?
I do,
Me
for
too.
sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's what I wanted, because
Mhm.
the little girl in me felt had put that out of my mind so long ago
That it was even a possibility.
that it was, yes, not having a father around to help.
Mhm.
So that was the message to me um, that I was never going to be provided for. That wasn't really worthy. And so to answer your question, I hear a lot of like feminism is the problem. It's one of the problems, but to me, it's so individual within, why you are experiencing that is so like it's so your own individual
Yeah.
situation that happened that wrote this program in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some of these other ideologies or ideas or concepts that come along with feminism,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe the consumeristic value system of our country as well as some other countries, consumerism and competition in general, the American dream,
Yeah.
um, which is super valuable in one way, but then like there's always the shadow side
Yeah.
of it. So cultural, it's feminism, but it's also super personal.
Totally.
Super personal.
Like if your blueprint is that there was no man around to take care of you from childhood, or that the man that was around wasn't safe, or that the man that was around cheated and or
Or was passive. And I
Mhm.
think
didn't
think
protect
that
you.
more that the overachiever woman, the overachiever giver, martyr woman has set the stage for her daughter to learn that that is her lot in life. So I really,
Yeah.
you know,
Like
I
no one's coming to save you, so you better take care of yourself type of.
yeah, and your dad kind of, she fights with dad, so and dad backs down, so we have a compliant man.
Yeah.
I almost feel like the passive man is more dangerous in a lot of ways, because it's so subtle, and
Yeah.
because we love him, he's daddy,
Great.
we
Yeah.
know he loves us, and we're so bonded with him, and that's what we then think that our man is supposed to be like, and I see that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And then we, on top of that, we do have the cultural messaging of like a woman needs a fan. What is it? A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. Like, I think it was like Gloria Steinem that said that. Like, you don't need a man. It's just extra. Like, have put your career first, like, have your own success. And then, like, if you want, you can have a man as like extra. But I feel like that really, when you tell a man you don't need him, you're not going to get the best out of that man.
Yeah.
And when you tell an entire gender that they're irrelevant, like it's not good.
I feel the pressure that comes from women more than anything else. Yeah. Yeah. And that's why this is so, it's so radical, and it actually kind of feels rebellious, which might be another reason why I like it, just like my rebellious kind of spirit. And it's revolutionary. But I'm not going to lie, I have always needed men. I don't like being alone. I just don't. I'm not good alone. I'm real destructive. And at one point, I needed 4 men. I didn't want one, I wanted a bunch. I'm not gonna lie, that's my story. So I've always needed men, and I've always loved them, and I respected them a little. Probably more on the side of used them.
Yeah. Which
Yeah.
is not, that's not the vibe.
Oh, but I understand it. So I'm not judging when I see that, happen. Because it is a way to need men in a different way. It's a way of being open and vulnerable about that you do need men. But you have this wall up that I only need you for this.
Yeah.
I don't need I don't need your money. I don't need your provision. I don't need you to provide for me.
Mhm.
You know, I want it, I buy it. I like it, I get it,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'd much rather
It's,
him buy me stuff because it made me feel special. John bought me a dress for our anniversary, and I did honestly. He asked me what I wanted for her anniversary thing, and I was like, to tell you the truth, I just want you to pick out a dress for me and go out and eat in it. I don't need us to do some big thing. I just want to know what you would buy me. It would be really exciting to see what you pick out. And he bought me a dress and I love it. And by the way, I picked out like 3 more outfits from that company because it was a beautiful dress. And
That's
it's comfortable and it doesn't wrinkle. Amen. Love that.
that's amazing.
It's like, honey, where'd you get that dress? What company was that? And I thought,
That's so adorable.
I mean, it was what I really, really wanted was just
Yeah.
him to buy me, pick me out a dress. That made me feel special. I
Yeah.
can pick out my own stuff, but it really feels good if he buys me something he thinks I'll look pretty in.
I know. There's definitely something to it. Like, um, I've never been, I didn't know it was possible to be as provided for as I am in my relationship and to just be like feel so solidly like everything is taken care of. And I'm just like, I have never had a safety net. I never had like well, if things don't go well in my business this month, like COVID happened and he supported both of us through the entire thing. And it was like the first time that it was the first time that, and we had just met, honestly, like
Oh
we had
my
known each
God.
other. And so it was like,
Ah,
I don't know what I would have done. I wasn't able to work because my business, at the time I was only doing massage therapy, which it was shut down. And even when we were allowed to reopen, um, no one wanted to come because they couldn't social distance or whatever. So I went from having like a pretty successful business to like almost nothing overnight. And he paid all the bills and I stayed home and cleaned our house and cooked. And it was like I have never had any kind of experience like that. And I loved it. Was challenging. I had to really work on myself to be able to receive that and to
yes,
feel worthy of it.
yes.
But it honestly like almost set our relationship up with this really great dynamic that continues. I mean, I work again now and he still provides a lot, but I help out.
Yeah.
And so it's not like as completely polarized as it was in the beginning, but still very much like there's this dynamic at play. I almost feel because like we set it up that way to begin with.
Yeah. Well, and you're working because you want to.
I
You're
want to.
passionate.
And he said, like, babe, he has actually said to me, I've never considered doing this with anyone I've ever dated, but if you wanted to stay home, like we could talk about that. And but it's because of polarity and of respect and of being able to receive. And it's interesting, like the exact same man that would never do that before with anyone else, if I wanted it, like, you know what I mean?
That's that muse energy.
It's the muse energy. And it's because of this work. It's because of like years of working on myself, because there was a time where I would never have been able to receive what I received from him.
Honestly, Sarah, it hurt. Every time I received more and more from John,
Mm-hmm.
it was painful. I cried a lot.
Yeah.
Like I wept. I thought, how is this the first time in my life that I'm receiving care?
Yeah.
Why did I have to leave the church? Why did I have to leave a husband? Why did I have to leave a family and everybody to be taken care of?
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't accept it. That's why.
Yeah.
Accept I didn't know about receiving. I didn't know that our true nature is receptive, just like my little illustration back here. The receiver. We're the receivers.
Yes.
I
We are.
love this thing. I love this thing.
I,
This is his job.
you're so funny. It's
And it makes a baby or a creation, create something. Just
yeah.
stay there and do your job. Relax.
And I've been listening a lot to Jillian. I never know how to say her last name.
Yeah.
She has a Facebook group that, do you know what I'm talking about? Jillian Pope. I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyways, she talks about how women give back. Women receive first and then give back. And like when we give back, sometimes it's a baby, or like whatever it is. It's like, so there's nothing wrong with, it's not that we don't do anything ever, but we don't do it from a providing energy. We do it from a like overflow. If this is like from the overflow, this is from like me giving back from what you've already given me, which that feels so different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes me think about feminine energy in, in feminine communication, we're expressing our feelings. A lot of times women think the negative feelings first for some reason. Oh, see, it's feminine for me to share my negative feelings. Yes. It's also feminine for you to express the joy
Yeah.
and the appreciation and the love. And sometimes like it can make you cry. It can be feel more vulnerable even.
Yeah.
He gives. No man wants to have sex with somebody who doesn't make a noise. He loves the sound.
I love
He
you,
loves
Buffy.
the sound. He wants to hear the oh, give me the oh face. I think for my orgasmic housewife, I don't have like my logo yet. I think I just want it to be O, OH, like as in oh, I didn't know that, or oh face, like that's the it's expressive like naturally, like he wants to hear your pleasure.
Yeah.
That's good. That's how we give back often.
Just appreciation.
Yeah. And it's funny because I tried that. I tried to speak respectfully and be appreciative and be nice. Didn't work because I was trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another way we can work on a relationship is we're trying, trying, trying. But if we
There's a
can,
huge difference, right, between receiving something and in the moment, like having a visceral, like vocal response.
yeah,
Later, like a couple days later, being like reading your feminine energy book and being like, babe, I wanted to thank you
yeah,
for that compliment you gave, or like whatever, for that present.
better
Like
than
that's like
nothing.
so awkward.
Guilty.
I know, I'm doing. He's like, don't make it weird.
Oh, it's true. I mean, I still do it from time to time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, same. Or like I'll be like, I'm sorry, I was disrespectful. He's
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about? Oh my gosh.
But it's better than nothing.
It is better. It's like we're learning, right? We're
Yeah.
practicing.
And I think you have this realization, you're like, oh shit, that was disrespectful. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna go apologize. I mean, it's better than nothing.
It is better than nothing.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it can be
Yeah.
real weird.
Um, you had this post that says, if he can't see a path to making you smile, he'll just go another way, which makes me kind of sad. And it's so true. But can you say more about this?
Yeah. If we don't know our desire, if we can't communicate it, then
Mhm.
he is directionless.
Mhm.
And that's because, now that we know that a man's true nature, all of them, I mean, that's your neighbor, that's the guy across the street, that's all of them, they just want to know, what do you want, what do you want, you
Yep.
know it's like we don't realize that we have that kind of power just when we show up. And so when they ask what we want, where do you want to go? What do you want? What can I do for you? Whatever. If there's no path and they can't please, then they'll just go another way because their whole purpose is in that giving, in that providing of something, of some sort of need or desire. They don't
Yeah.
feel good, they don't feel purposeful. They're gonna go, you know,
Yeah.
play a different game.
Mm.
They're
One
trying
where
to
they,
get them points. They're
oh
trying to get them points.
gosh, so
Go
true.
to a place where they can get the points.
So it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, which is like, you need to know what you want. And you can't know what you want until you connect with yourself and like practice self care and practice just like self knowledge so that you're able, when the opportunity arises, to communicate that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I practice many different practices. Most of them are really helping me to connect with my own body, with all my senses. And because sometimes I don't know what I want either. That's my work now. My work is getting clear every day in what I desire and what I want. And it's frustrating being a woman sometimes because it just changes all the time.
You're like, yesterday I
I
knew.
can't keep up with myself.
Well, we were talking today on my group call about the Runaway Bride, where Julia Roberts doesn't know what kind of eggs she likes.
Yes.
And so every guy she dates, she just likes whatever eggs they like. And then she has to figure out what kind of, like, try all the eggs. I was like, it's a perfect example. Like, if you don't know what you want, you're not going to be able to have, like, you're not, how can you communicate what you don't even know?
Yeah. And men have such a strong sense of self.
Yeah.
The man, what's the best car? He's been saying, well, this one car was the same, this brand was the same forever. They're the most brand loyal. Men are more loyal by nature.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I think there's a statistic out there that, like, it's actually more women that have affairs and end relationships than men.
More definitely end relationships.
But we think that, I think, there's this cultural narrative around, like, men being kind of like wanderers, cheaters or more non-monogamous, but it's actually false.
Yeah. I haven't looked up the stats on that, but I wouldn't be surprised, especially having been a hairdresser for 23 years and listening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know all the dirt.
All the dirt.
All the dirt. And I was the dirty, I did the dirt too. So, and it's true. We're so emotionally unsatisfied in our relationships that we'll look for connection.
Yeah.
We need it to survive. We need it to be happy. We want to die without connection. There's no reason for living. So, it's easier to
and
go.
He wants to die if he doesn't know how to make us happy.
Yeah.
So really, it's almost just at the end of the day, like a massive, like 100-year miscommunication between men and women.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds to me like it's thousands of years. And that, I think, is also why it's so hard. Yeah. So, like, the collective or the conscious, and it's thousands of years of progress on top of our animal instincts. Yeah. So what we're talking about is all these animal instincts, and it's a tough time too with the conversations around sexuality and the conversations around sameness or gender identity. And I'm cool with all of that. And at the same time, there's just going to be a consequence. Like,
I am like, anyone should do whatever they want to do, but my work is for feminine women that want to be with a masculine man. And there are still a lot of, I think most women deeply desire masculinity, but it's like you said, it's almost like the most counterculture rebellious thing you could want right now.
Yeah, join the rebellion. That's what I want. Yes.
It's like as rebellious probably as being a feminist was in, like, the very early feminist movement.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so excited to be a part of it. And it's also very lonely because girls, you might lose your friends.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Because if you're not, I have a client who, she was telling me once that she's very happy in her marriage. She just, like, adores her husband and he adores her. And she says, I'll get together with my girlfriends and they're all bashing their husbands. And she's like, Sarah, I've made things up before.
I just made stuff up.
That weren't even true, just to fit in with the conversation, because you would be ostracized if you were like, well, my marriage is great.
Yes, it makes everyone uncomfortable. And
Yeah.
I
It's
get
just
it.
so sad.
And I posted something yesterday and I finally said, listen, I've been feeling guilty because I'm the orgasmic housewife. And you know what I do all day? I do whatever I want all day long. And I've been feeling bad to tell you that because I feel like maybe you won't like me, or you'll think that I'm just puffed up or I'm trying to show off. I'm just excited. I
Yeah.
worked hard to get here. I made the hard choices.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do the hard work in here, and that's a lot harder than going to work.
Yeah.
Because going to work will distract you from your mind that you've never dealt with all your childhood, you never dealt with your abuse, you never dealt with your past relationships, you never dealt with your dad, never dealt with your mom, never really dealt with anything, just been busy. So you get into the shit, honestly.
Workaholism is a very real thing. It is a very real avoidance tactic. And if I'm guilty of anything throughout my life of using something to avoid, it's been work. And the crazy thing about it is it's like so socially acceptable. It's not even just acceptable, it's like applauded.
Praise, praise,
Yeah.
praise. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I was praised and now I'm disabled,
Mhm.
literally. And I don't share that. So I got praised for the work that I've done. I kept working, even though I was completely broken for years. I have
Yeah.
worked for years with constant migraines, constant chronic pain, 35 years of back pain, and constant migraines since I was 8 years old.
Your body's trying to communicate something with you.
Yeah. The whole body started to shut down and I had to go to part time. But the only thing I ever got praised for was my work.
Yep.
So, Sarah,
I
I didn't
use,
even know who I was.
yep,
And that's
yep.
why this is so hard because
I relate so much.
I didn't know me.
But it's like your true value, no one's value lies in the just the work that they do. And
Right.
your the value that we have as women, and this is what I'm like really talking about, is like what we do. And we don't have to be full-time stay at home,
No.
anything to do this, but the value that we bring to a home, the energy that we bring, the nurturance, the even just like the very simple task of like being the one to make your meals and fold your laundry, you're giving such a gift that affects the entire community and then the country and then the world because everything starts from within and expands outward, and the woman is that's her realm, and we've neglected this realm completely and made it no one's responsibility and made it the lowest paid labor if we hire other people to do it, and just like, well, anyone can do this job, so like hire, how a housekeeper is not like a venerated role in society. A
Right.
babysitter is not a venerated role in society. Yet these are literally some of the most important things we could ever do. And it's just like completely devalued. And when women choose it, they're looked down upon as nothing.
Yeah.
Like that's what needs to shift. What doesn't need to shift is we don't all have to become stay-at-home wives or
Right.
housewives, although we should be able to, and we should be able to do it proudly. But we
Yeah.
don't have to, but we need to shift the cultural narrative on like the value of it.
Yes. Instead of, yes, value feminine, what the feminine brings instead of the
Yeah.
masculine, for sure. Yeah.
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 And
Home. Home.
yes, and let that be somebody's responsibility because it's a very important role in society. And we've just completely abandoned it. Like the lights are on and literally no one's home.
Yeah. Girl, I'm friends with my neighbor across the street. I know those people. I know these people and those kids. I take those kids to school. I'm like the aunt of the neighborhood. My dog plays with this lady's dog across the street, and I never got to do that. And it's like I spend my neighbors don't even hang out anymore, and we spend Christmases, do singing karaoke, Christmas karaoke with our neighbors, and they're like 10 years younger than us and have kids, and I love those kids, and I treat them, give them lots of money on their birthday and take them shopping, and
Yeah.
it's like extra, I'm just like extra. I don't have to do any of that. It's not the Christian thing to do. I'm not doing the Christian thing, which by the way I did for 18 years.
Yeah.
That is another thing I want to talk about a little bit, if that's
Tell
okay.
me everything.
The church.
Yeah.
I love the church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never going to talk shit about the church. And the exact same thing is happening in the church as outside the church. So even though I was very blessed to see women who stayed home and raised their children, so in the church it does feel a little bit more acceptable.
Yeah, that's true.
And they are praised. However,
Yeah.
they're still overworked often because
Mm-hmm.
they're still feeling that pressure that they're not good enough, like
Yeah.
we were talking about. And then they feel the need to be volunteering at the church.
There's so much pressure for service,
A
which
lot.
is the exact same thing. I read this book a long time ago called Captivating by John and Stacey Eldridge.
Yeah.
And talk about that, of how
Yeah.
like that culturally a good woman is seen as like an exhausted woman that's given everything she has. And it is the exact same way in the church.
It is women in the church I have watched women who died, and all they ever did was serve their family. And by the way, I hear their family, that's all they ever praised them for too.
Mm-hmm.
She did everything. She worked so hard. She loved us so good. And da, 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 da. They die and no one does a funeral. No one says anything.
Because there's no one that knows how to plan it. The one
How to do happen. And she never valued any of her own desires. So teaching on, the desires of your heart, that God gives you the desires of your heart, it's in there. It's funny because the only time you do learn some of this stuff is kind of like the prosperity movement. And then
yeah,
that can get a little wonky. That everything can get a little wonky.
it's
But
very true.
the honest to God truth is this stuff is all in the Bible. Now I can see it. I studied it for 18 years and I didn't see it. And now I can see it.
Yep. I am right there with
Because
you.
from the pulpit, a lot of times, and this is my theory, the pulpit is generally male, coming from a male perspective, talking to males.
Yeah.
Or to everyone, but the hearers hear it different. So women in the church are hearing, love your enemy, do these things, da, 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 and we want connection. We want to have that constant connection with God. We don't ever want to like stop that relationship with our source. So we want to be obedient. We want to do it all. Where men are like, yeah, that's a good reminder. I'll remember that. I got to do this one thing more. Very practical. But
Mm-hmm.
we'll take it all on. And I think that really just has more to do with our feminine energy, which is needing that we need God. We live in that kind of constant spiritual state as women, which is a little
Yeah.
different than
I
men.
often wonder too, when they talk in the Bible about like submission, to me, I used to be very offended by that and like turned off by it. But when I read it now, it really sounds to me like the man is being told to be like completely responsible for taking care of, protecting, and providing for his wife. And God saying to the wife, like, let him do that.
Yes, it
How I
says,
read it now. Let him do it. Let him protect you and provide
give
for you.
to her as Christ gave to the church. That means spill your blood. That
Die
means
for her.
you die. You can't give more than your life.
And he doesn't have the same command to
And
women.
women,
He doesn't
submit
tell
to it.
them to die for their
Receive it.
husbands.
It's receive it. It's just receive it.
That's what submission is. It's receiving.
Yeah. And I
Like
never, I
very
never,
simply.
and it's so sad that I spent so many years in the church and I had to get out of the church and go to the conscious community to learn this, but I'm bringing it back.
I had to get out of religion and go into like new age spirituality to come back to God
Yeah.
and Jesus.
Yeah.
But and now I have like, I relate so much with what you're saying because I feel like I have the best of both now. Like I can read the Bible without hearing religion and I can take new age spirituality with a grain of salt of like, yes, we have a lot of, there's a lot of power in like working with energy, but even the Bible talks about that. And like, yes, the law of attraction, like things like this, they don't have to, they're not mutually exclusive and they can't exist together, but it's like God and Jesus, like they're not fragile and they don't need to be defended by me. Like it can just, it's really just about also receiving. Like, can I receive that?
I love that. Yeah, they're not fragile.
They just are. And you can accept them or you don't have to. You have free will. Like it's very simple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have
I
a
brought this
we have
forward
a
because
big mission, Sarah,
I
but
do.
it's not meant to be a burden. And I think we need to be careful, you know. I see a lot of coaches and I'm concerned about coaches
Mhm.
because it's a mission, yes, but everybody has a mission. So we have to be careful not to be overwhelmed and overburdened by this mission.
That's very true. And I think if you are able to really, something that I've learned a lot from actually learning about masculine and feminine has really helped heal my relationship with God, of realizing like, we don't have to perform for God. We don't have to do anything except receive. And when you reorient yourself to that truth and you're just receiving it all day long from everything around you, like God, money, your partner, men that you meet, like just the masculine energy everywhere of the universe and of God, then like anything that you give is just overflowing and it's just giving back. And it doesn't have to even come from you. It just more, I think of it as like it comes through you because you're the vessel for it. Like you're the channel for it because you agree. It's like Mary like agreed to be the one
Yeah.
to bring Jesus into the world. So like if you consent to be the vessel for your purpose, then it will just come through you. And that doesn't mean that there's never any hardship or work, or it doesn't mean that we just like I think like feminine it's not just like I made a post about this once, like laying back while your lover feeds you grapes.
Yeah.
Although that is like a really beautiful aspect of it. It's not just that. Like you receive and then you birth from what you receive. And that does require a certain amount of your participation.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I err on the side of more of that, more of the
Like
time.
we all should. Well, we have to because
Yeah.
we are so culturally conditioned away from that. So we have to like, that's what we mostly need to work on. Women don't really need to be told to work any harder. That's for sure.
Yeah. 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 But we do have being a mother is work.
Yeah.
And you can be a mother in your masculine and you can be a mother in your feminine.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
believe.
I love the coaches that coach mothers. I think they're amazing. And I love listening to them because it applies to myself too. Here's this natural instinct, right? I
Mhm.
love explaining feminine energy through the eye of the mother too, because a baby cries and we just go to the baby.
It's
You know,
almost
the
automatic.
baby's leading. The baby's leading.
Yeah.
The baby's telling you, even my dog, you, she got needs. And
Yeah.
even though she's just a dog, I feel that draw for like, oh, she hasn't had a walk today. She needs a walk. And
Mhm.
but that's still in the feminine. Now I can do it in the masculine, like, well, she needs a walk. Are you gonna walk her or am I gonna walk her? Okay, I'll get out there and walk her, even if I don't want to do it or something. But yeah, it's very, yeah,
I don't have kids either. Or do you have kids?
no.
Me either. But I do have a dog. And so I know it's not like a fair comparison, but I hear that dog roll over and I'm awake. Like I'm like so attuned to every single thing he needs. When he wakes up in the middle of the night and he has to go out,
Yep.
I wake up. Like I know. And Corey sleeps through the entire thing, like none of it happened. But I think it's just like there is this maternal instinct where like you just I don't know, somehow you wake up, and then you do what you need to do, and then you go back to bed.
Yeah, exactly. It just happens really naturally. And
Yeah.
and it's not fair to ask a man to have that nature.
Yeah.
And that's what many of us are asking of men, is to have a feminine gift that they
And
don't
I
have.
think I think that a little bit, some women can get into like almost this entitlement with, they want him to be the provider and have all the feminine qualities that they want him to have. And I'm like, no, that's where it's getting into like a really immature feminine where you
It's
feel
like
like
this.
to like never have to lift a finger or do anything ever. And that's not it. That's definitely not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the like worship me energy, you know.
Yes. Like I am the goddess queen.
Yeah. 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 It can be. I was talking with, actually, she's a single friend of mine, and I coached her for a while, and then I actually realized, girl, I don't know how to coach you. I'm gonna send you to this person, this person, this person. But we're still friends because I have so few friends in that understand. And she's met a great guy, and she's like, Buffy, oh, this thing is happening. Our men are similar, so I do know what she's going through. I can tell,
Yeah.
and I can share. I'm a little ahead, and I know a little bit more, so I don't coach her. We're just friends, and I share.
Yeah.
And um, and that's the other thing about the church. I never got any real help from women. Women
No,
didn't teach me anything.
I me either.
So I'm getting that now.
They taught me what was wrong with me, which isn't helpful.
And to just pray about your man.
Take that makeup off your face and wear a longer skirt. Like, okay, thanks.
I got a lot of advice of just praying about it and memorizing more scripture is a lot of work.
Yeah.
And it didn't work.
Yep.
So my newest program is specifically for Christian wives that are unsatisfied, exhausted, and overwhelmed.
Amazing.
Because
That's so needed.
it's scary. Because
I love that so much.
but I,
Do you
I
want do you want to tell us more about like, I could talk to you for forever,
I know.
but I want to honor your time too.
I don't do much though.
It's like 5 p.m. The sun's going down. We're still talking. I feel like
I
you really
know.
should come to Arizona and hang out. Um, do you want to tell us like a little more about what programs you have and how we can connect with you?
Yeah, I to tell you the truth, Sarah, like I have been unsure about what I wanted to coach on.
Mm.
So I just kind of put things out there. I say to women, like, I'm always available. There's definitely, I'm very experienced with feminine energy as far as how that applies to your relationship to a certain degree, as well as your health. I would say mostly your health, because I have been able to find so much health from feminine energy work.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to really kind of come into that a little bit more for myself before I did that.
Mhm.
Then I really, really got into, for myself, like learning more about just the sexual connection and the chemistry within a relationship. Like that
Yeah.
was very intriguing for me. And I just wanted to do something really fun, and talking about sex is super fun to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very open. I'm not,
And you're like, I feel like you're so disarming. Like people would just feel totally safe to talk about anything
yeah,
with
like anything. You can't get weird enough with me. I'll take it to the next level. And 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 I know that there are shy women who don't want to talk about those things. So I wanted to have videos where they could get like some embodiment practices and knowledge and stuff like that, and just kind of go through. So I have a Facebook group called Sexual Chemistry 101, and I
us.
list them out in lessons. Lesson 1, 2, 3, you can go in order, gives you
Yeah.
directions, you can apply that to your life, do it on your schedule, kind of a thing. I
Yeah.
haven't even posted all the videos that I have.
Yeah.
And so that's only $7.99 a month. It's a subscription,
That's
but
amazing. That
it's
is such
fun.
a good deal.
It's fun. And honestly, if you just go through these lessons,
Yeah.
like it's not just, if you can get sexual chemistry, if you're working on your feminine energy and you're working on it for sexual chemistry, it's going to apply to your relationship. It's going to apply to work. It's going to apply to everything. So for $7.99 a month, that's a steal, but it's easy for me and I do it for fun.
Yeah. And do you, so here's a question that I've heard this from clients,
Yeah.
and I have not experienced it myself, obviously, but being married for many years and just kind of losing that spark, like losing that interest, is that something that you can reignite within a marriage? You
Absolutely.
think so?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
It's not like, oh, we just grew out of each other and we're not attracted anymore. It's like,
no, the polarity is off. And it's just what we've been talking about.
yeah,
It's that masculine and feminine energy. And when we start really understanding these the natural inclinations and getting in our lane,
yeah,
then men and women are just attracted to each other. That's what they're attracted to. Men aren't attracted to other men unless they're gay.
yeah,
So
yep,
if you're in your masculine, he's not attracted. If he's in his feminine, you're not attracted.
yep.
So yeah.
That's really good to hear because I feel like so many people wonder if like maybe it's just gone forever.
Yeah. And it feels like it can feel it feels like that.
Yeah.
And I struggled with that in my previous marriage for most of the relationship.
Yeah. Also, I've heard of like women who have like deep, who have had like trauma in the past, and then they get into a relationship with a really great guy who's showing up and he's providing and he's in his masculine and he's following through with his word. And they're like so bored and not sexually attracted because they equate sexual attraction with like the chase and like him not being available and him not showing up and the hot and cold and the roller coaster. So I feel like your work could be really helpful there too.
Yes, the peace.
Yeah.
Being more comfortable with peace. Because like I said, I'm a drama addict, So I definitely I go to that side very
Mhm.
easily. I get bored very easily. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there are just really, really healthy ways to turn yourself on, to live this wild girl. You can be the wild girl and the wise girl. You can have both. You can,
Yeah.
you can absolutely have both.
You don't have
You
to
can you can like turn your, taking responsibility for your own turn on. I'm a big fan of Mama Gina.
I
Love
love her.
I that's changed my life in a big way. I don't agree with everything. I don't practice everything, but a lot of her has just I have embodied for
If you
sure.
don't have a post yet that says you can be the wild girl and the wise girl, I think you should make that into a post.
Stole it from somebody else. I think
That's so good.
it's so good. I feel like I'd just be stealing it. It's someone else.
Oh, someone else said that. Dang it.
I could say it in a different way.
Yeah.
We'll put it in the chat and then write it a different way. I don't know. But yeah, for sure. I think it's very frustrating to be with a safe, healthy, man who's doing all the right things and you're not attracted to him. Like that's the worst. That's the
I've
worst.
heard that from so many women, and I've heard the worst advice. Like I've I've heard people say, well, then if there's no attraction, then he's just not right for you. And I'm like, no, don't let that man go.
You gotta go be happy. You gotta go be happy. You deserve it. But you're not happy as a person
Yeah.
because you can't handle peace.
Yeah.
Anyone who can't handle peace is not happy.
So true.
They have something going on. There's some healing, some deep. It's probably past stuff.
Mhm.
It's amazing how quickly some of this, feeling safe in your own body,
Yeah.
how quickly that can bring so much healing to so many deep areas. And then a lot of my work is reparenting and childhood,
Yeah.
understanding like reparenting your child and
Yeah.
inner child stuff. Um, Shadow work. I love shadow work. Ooh, just shadow work all day. Now, what does that mean? Some people don't know what that means, but to me, it means my dark, destructive nature that wants more and will grab for it in any way, shape, or form out of some darker fears. I guess it kind of generally comes down to fears.
It's also, I think of it as like the part of you that doesn't want what you want, or the part of you that wants what you don't want. Like this, like, have
Yeah.
you read Existential Kink?
Yes. Oh, favorite. It's
Having
so
is evidence of wanting. And if you don't have something that you want, it's because part of you doesn't want it. And
yeah.
I feel like I've had so many breakthroughs doing that work of like, well, I say I want this, but why don't I want it?
Yes. I
Yeah.
love the morning affirmations, and I have one of those on my Instagram.
Mm.
I don't know if you've seen that, but that's one of my very favorite. I like to do funny things and just like, it's funny to watch. You know what? Let's make sure we have a terrible day today. I want you to make sure you pick on your outfit and that you feel fat. Let's make sure that you really stand in the mirror and like hold your belly and just really feel disgusted. Could you just, we need you to really feel disgusted about yourself today.
Yeah.
When you do that kind of affirmation and you hear how naturally it comes out, you're like, oh man, that's what I really think.
I heard someone say too about attracting a relationship. I wish I could remember who said this. It was in a book, because she was like, call yourself out by saying like really saying how it sounds. Like, oh, I'm so special that I'm the one person who will never find love, even though I'm
Oh,
dating and I'm doing all this work on myself and I have an open heart and I'm a good person. I'm special and I will never find it. Like, just like call yourself out on your own bullshit.
I'm so amazing and brilliant and wonderful and perfect that there's nobody in this town for me.
Oh, I'm gonna die.
No man who could
That's
ever
gonna eat my face.
bring it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ego. It's a funny thing.
Yeah.
That book
Well,
is a lot of ego work. Yeah.
I need to reread it. I read it last year and I was just so blown away by it. It was one of those ones. Right now I'm reading Portal by Yolanda Norris Clark and I can't put it down. So, and it's another book that talks a lot. It's actually about orgasmic pain-free childbirth, but
Yeah.
what it's really about is our ability to choose our experience in any circumstance in our life. And a lot of the stuff she talks about is shadow work. Like she talks about the collective choice that it's painful. We've just decided that it's painful.
Yeah.
And so we all have that experience.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how much power we actually have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This has been amazing. And I think we should probably wrap it up because I have an appointment in half an hour.
Yeah. Me
But
too.
we should do this again soon because I had the best time talking to you.
Hey, I'm down anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you too. Oh, tell us,
Yeah.
did you tell us already how we can find you? It's Buffy Bliss, right? On Facebook?
Orgasmic Housewife is best.
Okay.
Yeah, Orgasmic Housewife on Instagram, Buffy
And
Bliss on Facebook. My Orgasmic, what is my group called? Orgasmic Housewife School of Bliss is
yeah.
my Facebook group only.
Yes. Okay.
I get men asking to be in there all the time. You put the word orgasmic out
I
there,
bet they would like that.
like maybe she'll let me in. It's funny.
He's like, I want to meet an orgasmic housewife.
Love it.
So cute.
All
All right. Thank you
right.
so
Thank
much.
you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.